Tonight, we are witnessing something remarkable. In less than 48 hours, President Trump has done what the entire Biden administration couldn't do in 4 years. He's brought Mexico to its knees. With one threat of tariffs, Mexico deployed 10,000 troops to our border, but that's not all. Canada's next, and they're already squirming. While Chuck Schumer whined about expensive avocados, Trump was busy saving our country. And the Europeans? Well, they're watching in horror as Trump dismantles decades of unfair trade practices. Zero Chevrolets in Munich? Well, that's about to change. America's back in the driver's seat. And just like Trump's negotiating with foreign powers to get the best deals for America, I believe in giving you the best deal for your health. When it comes to protein powders, most companies load their products with cheap fillers and hidden carbs, just like those unfair trade deals bleeding our country dry. That's why Swish is clean, low-carb protein that's made right here in the United States. While Mexico and Canada are caving to Trump's pressure, you can build your strength with premium protein from pasture-raised American cows. Visit buildwithgary.com for your free bag of protein powder. That's buildwithgary.com. Let's jump into it now, folks. The tariff war has begun. Donald Trump being asked in the Oval Office about China's retaliatory tariffs. Let's listen. This is just a couple hours ago.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to China's retaliatory tariffs?
That's fine. It's fine. We're going to do very well against China and against everybody else. Right now, they've taken advantage of the Biden administration like I've never seen. I've never seen. The deficit with China is about $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion. They're using our money to build their military. And Biden let that happen. You know, we're taking a lot of fires here. We came back. This is like a different place. The good news is we're doing very well. We're doing well with countries that nobody expected we'd do well with. We are respected again as a nation, maybe at a level that people haven't seen for many, many decades. But when I left, we didn't have any wars. I defeated ISIS, 100% of the ISIS caliphate, and now the world seems to be ready to blow up, but we'll see if we can stop it.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to China's retaliatory tariffs?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Trump is not afraid of China. Here we have this also from the Oval Office. President Trump delivers an update on the tariffs with Mexico and Canada as he works to secure our homeland. Let's listen in.
Is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do. And we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, you know, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well.
And America will be treated well. Here we have President Trump discussing the trade deficits with the European Union, saying that we have been abused for years. Well, that is about to change.
Of cars coming. We have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it. And they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used. And Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously, because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. We have massive...
Yep, that party's over, too. The free ride is over. Here's what President Trump just said, that it will take what it will take for him to rescind the tariffs. This is what it's going to take for him to rescind. You see what he says on the screen there.
South Carolina.
That he could agree to change your mind on the tariff?
Well, we can always, but look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our, Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again.
There will be some pain, but not a lot of pain. There will be some pain. Here's a Babylon B article, one of my favorite satire websites. Trump announces he will lift tariffs on Canada just as soon as they win the Stanley Cup. Oh, you gotta love the Babylon Bee. Here's Chuck Schumer on Sunday, said Trump's tariffs would make Corona and avocados more expensive. However, today, Mexico's president caved to Trump's tariff threat and agreed to send 10,000 Mexican soldiers to defend the U.S. border. Schumer has humiliated himself yet again.
Okay? Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer still trying to figure out how to work a grill. Yep, Chuck, keep embarrassing yourself. Trump has agreed to pause Mexico tariffs. Now what will the liberals complain about? Trump always wins. Here we go again. This is a clip from April of 2018. All right. This is Chuck Schumer speaking in somewhat different stance on Trump's trade policies back then. Really? Let's listen.
Because they didn't. Look, I think the president's doing the right thing. China has been taking advantage of us for two decades. They're stealing our intellectual property, which means stealing our good-paying jobs. And I, frankly, am closer on this issue, not on many, but on this issue with President Trump than I was with Presidents Bush or Obama, because they did nothing to tell China off. Now, China, of course, will respond. But if they know we're strong and we're not going to back off, they will back off. They have far more to lose than we do. They have a $300 billion trade surplus with us. So I'm looking out, number one, for jobs. You know, if General Electric moves jobs to China, they're not unhappy, but my New York workers in Schenectady are unhappy. And so you can't let the international business companies who don't give a hoot about where their factories are govern this. You have to do what's good for the American worker. Look.
And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And Chuck Schumer can cry about avocados all he wants. Here we have our beloved press secretary talking about the increased prices a few days ago, and here's what she's reflecting. Let's listen.
Effectively Can you guarantee that those tariffs won't increase prices for Americans, including at the gas pump and the grocery store?
I think Americans who are concerned about increased prices should look at what President Trump did in his first term. He effectively implemented tariffs, and the average inflation rate during the first Trump administration was 1.9%. In fact, when President Trump left office, it was 1.4%. So President Trump is going to do everything he possibly can to cut the inflation crisis that the previous administration imposed on the American people, and he will continue to effectively utilize tariffs.
And I should point out, it's a good thing that Tito's vodka is made in Texas. All right, the U.S. GDP, 7 times bigger than the GDP of Mexico and Canada combined. 35% of the GDP of Mexico is exports to the U.S. Only 1.2 of the U.S. GDP export to Mexico. 22% of Canada's GDP is exports to the U.S. Only 1.5 of U.S. GDP is exports to Canada. They need us way more than we need them. And Shia Rychik, for those keeping score, Colombia caved in 6 minutes. Mexico caved in 48 hours. What's your guess when Canada will cave? Well, looks like didn't take long for that. Let the negotiations begin. Trump-Trudeau trade phone calls over tariff battle. So they're having some conversations now before Trudeau shows himself out the door. We have this also from the Rapid Response 47. Only in Washington, D.C. would it be a novelty where someone runs on an issue, wins on an issue, and then actually does what they say they're going to do. President Trump is solely focused on making sure that fentanyl... Okay, let's listen.
Would it be a novelty? Every candidate always says they want free and fair trade. The free trade always comes. It's the fair trade that never follows. Donald Trump changed that 4 years ago when he was in the White House. You're seeing more of that in this term. He wants the American people to benefit. You'll see a common theme. It's putting the American people first. And only in Washington, D.C. would it be a novelty where someone runs on an issue, wins on an issue, and actually does what they say they were going to do. Donald Trump is solely focused on making sure that the fentanyl, the deaths, the human trafficking, the child smuggling, the rapes, the murders, the illegal immigration stops. And if Canada and Mexico need tariffs as a lever of incentive and influence to bring them to the table to help stop that, Donald Trump is going to do it.
And he is doing it. Okay, we got more here. This is when the news broke. Trump speaks with Mexico. Mexico sends 10,000 troops to the border. Trump pauses tariffs. Canada, what are we doing? Chop, chop. That's right. Trump won't even take Trudeau's calls, apparently. Listen.
For 1 month. Fox News Alert, and the breaking news of the day is on tariffs. And we just have word that the Mexican president spoke to Donald Trump, and they are going to pause the tariffs on Mexico for 1 month. And Jackie Heinrich is standing by at the White House with more on this development. Hi, Jackie.
Good morning, Dana. Yeah, that was pretty short-lived. The president spoke with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, the two sides agreeing to pump the brakes on the tariffs and then retaliatory tariffs that Mexico promised for the period of a month while they work out the terms of an agreement. The Mexican president just posted some of the details. Mexico is going to immediately send 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl. Also, she says the U.S. is going to work with Mexico to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico, something that Mexico hit back at when President Trump was threatening these tariffs. tariffs was they were calling on the U.S. to curb the flow of guns from the U.S. down to the cartels. Sheinbaum says the two teams are going to begin working today on two fronts, security and trade. And President Trump posted on Truth Social that part of that team is going to include Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, as well as some representatives from Mexico.
Trump is winning all around, folks. We're living in the greatest time to be alive in America. Oh, yes, my friends. Trump always wins. Schumer's tears will continue to flow. And we'll just wait to see how long it takes for Canada to cave. Looks like Europe, everyone else is already caving. So look at what just happened here. Mexico caved in 48 hours. Colombia, 6 minutes. And Canada, well, they are next. While the mainstream media clutched their pearls about taco prices, President Trump orchestrated one of the most significant border security victories in American history. 10,000 Mexican troops are now doing the job our own politicians refuse to do. It's not just about tariffs, it's about leveraging America's economic might to protect our sovereignty. So here's what you need to be asking in our comments, okay? Reply in the comments. If Trump can force Mexico to secure our border with just the threat of tariffs, what does it tell you about the last administration's claims that nothing could be done about illegal immigration? Show your patriot pride with our exclusive Mega Avengers gear linked below at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. What are you waiting for?